Okay, good morning. So, welcome to the first breakout session. My name is Eric Conklin. I am the Director of Technology for Brookfield Public Schools. And I'm going to act as the chair here for this session this morning, which we are looking at instructional technology for K12s. I think a field that's very important for all of us as we look to new devices, new solutions, districts that are currently with one-to-one or looking at one-to-one. What device do we use? What solution do we use? How do we manage them? How do we manage them in school? How do we manage them at home? And so I think this is a good topic for us to look at as we get ready for our summer and our new school year. I won't speak too much longer. I'd rather get into the content here, but what we'll do is we'll have our two sets of speakers, and then at the end we'll leave some time if anybody has any questions or anything they want to bring up. So with that, I will send it over to David. I already forgot. Andrade. David Andrade from CDWG, who will start us off.
Good morning. That was lame. Good morning. That's a little better. You gotta wake up, get moving again, get the blood flowing. So as I said, my name is Dave Andrade. I'm a K12 education strategist with CDW, which is the largest IT integration solutions provider in North America and now the UK, although I can't get them to send me over there. I'm like, come on, I'll go over there and help them get set up. There's a resource doc link there for resources. It'll also be at the end, so if you miss it now, don't worry, it'll be there. Figure instead of people trying to write down lots of things and try to figure out links, just throw it all in a document for you. It is open for you to copy too, so if you're on a device now and want to make a copy and then put your own notes on there, go right ahead. So what I'm going to talk about is some of the new trends coming and what we're seeing for transforming the classroom and really changing things up a little. We see a lot of different trends coming. I work with schools all over the country. Even though my area is technically the Northeast, I do work with other schools all over the country. My team is spread out across the country. There's 7 of us now. And literally all we do is work with schools on their tech plans, coming up with professional development solutions, what's going to work best for that school, and kind of helping them work through all that stuff because we have access and time to a lot of research that they don't, especially time. So I didn't start in this field. I actually started out as an engineer, then decided after being a part-time paramedic and EMS instructor I wanted to get into education. Was a physics teacher in Bridgeport, then a tech specialist, and then took over as CIO in Bridgeport for 2 years, where we started rolling out new network, about 12,000 Chromebooks, new teacher devices, and started looking at what's coming down the road. After leaving there, I went and did some consulting and then came to CDW, working on all kinds of different projects. So this is what we're striving for every day in the classroom. And one of the things you're going to see is everything we focus on needs to be on what's going on in the classroom. So we're trying to make education inspiring, engaging, fun, creative, active, which is always funny because every time I talk about this stuff, I'm doing this. And I'm like, can we have more time so I can do some active stuff with everybody? But when we do half-day or full-day workshops, trust me, you guys will be very active, moving around, doing a lot of different things, because we want you to see what we're trying to get done in the classroom, too. So, up in the upper right corner is actually a good motto that we use, is that when you're looking at technology, the focus is not on the technology, it's on what you want the students to be able to do and learn. That's all it is. What are you trying to do? What's the vision in your school system? Breaking it down more to specific goals. And then the big one is, will this improve teaching and learning? If you can't answer that question, the why are we doing this, then why do it? Literally. And we've said that to people and they've gone, oh, okay, and they've not bought stuff, which our bosses are perfectly fine with. We're not salespeople. We don't get paid anything to do with sales. This is what we do. So for us, it's what's going to be best in the classroom. The biggest thing, and I'm sure people here can attest to this, is that putting technology in a classroom does not automatically make things better. I've been in classrooms where they're one-to-one, every kind of technology available, and I'm watching the teacher hand out paper worksheets and telling the students to open a textbook and fill out a worksheet. There's a DNA sequencer down the hall. There's a 3D printer. There's a whole tech lab, and they're doing worksheets in a science class. You've got to get the pedagogy right first. The technology is there to support them. But if you give a bad teacher technology, the class is literally going to get worse, because what are the kids going to do with that technology? Nothing to do with class. If the teacher can't manage the class, can't make the lessons engaging, students are going to be bored, they're going to go off and do whatever they want. So this is 1920s. And literally you could use this picture for 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, even into the 80s, except maybe you'd have an overhead projector, remember those? And some mimeographs. But this is literally what we still see today. Every kid's got a device, there's some kind of interactive board on the wall, but they're still sitting in rows doing the same old thing. But you just spent millions of dollars on technology for them to do the same old thing they could have done with a slate and a piece of chalk. That's not what we want. So this is really what has to happen. And too many school systems are, there's the IT department, and academics is on the other side of town. They rarely talk, they rarely have anything going on with each other. IT's buying what they think is the best equipment. Academics is getting this and going, now what do we do with it? Instead of thinking the other way around. So what we do like seeing is we see a lot more schools getting instructional technology or educational technology teams that work with both academics and IT. We see a lot more CIO, CTO, where it's not just running the IT department, they're actually cabinet level, working with all the academic teams, and really integrating everything to where technology just kind of blends in the background, kind of like a pen and paper does. That's what you want to see, is that it's not the focus on the technology, it's the focus on the lesson in the classroom. Of course, that also means there's a lot of new things coming that IT is going to have to support too, which you'll see. So everybody kind of knows what to do with technology, for the most part. You know, say, oh, we want students to write, and we want them to create stuff and make things and go online and do research. And a lot of them know how to do that. So you have some kind of system, mostly cloud. We're seeing most schools are going to either Office 365, G Suite, or both, since they're free. So they can do a lot of stuff, but then why? What are they making them write for? Is it just doing the same old writing? Or now that you have this great resource, can they do collaborative writing with each other? Can they share it with somebody else and get an authentic audience to read and give them feedback? Whether it's just inside the school or in the community or even worldwide, which we have a lot of schools working with schools across the world, sharing resources, working together on projects. So that's really what you're looking for, is the why first. And what I do like that I see a lot of is a lot of times the IT directors are former educators, or at least understand the educational side, and they're sitting there going, listen, I got people telling me they want all this stuff, but I know they're not going to use it right. We need help to make sure they implement it correctly when we buy it. Well, that's a good thing. Everybody's thinking about this. Here's some of the things you can do with why. Students get engaged when you give them technology. We all see that. My wife is an educator. We always said we weren't going to use technology around our daughter. She's 3.5, and she knows how to grab a phone, pull up her favorite cartoon, Curious George, and watch it on the phone. I'm like, you know what? There's worse things she could be doing. Let's let her do it. She's not breaking anything. She's not killing us or giving me a stroke. So that's good. College and career readiness. And again, this does not have anything to do with what brand of software, what brand of device, or what you're specifically doing. Anyone here get taught how to drive a Toyota? Or do you get taught how to drive a car? And then you go drive a Honda, a Chevy, a big pickup. Every time I hear somebody say they have to learn XYZ software, I want to ram my head against the wall. How many people remember the big changeover on Word and Power Office with the new menu? So teaching somebody Office 2003 didn't matter when they got to the new version that had a whole different menu. We're not teaching them software specifically because it changes too fast. And I've seen schools waste a lot of money on licensing for software that never gets used because it's too difficult or they're not what they're using. We want to focus on, can they write? Nobody at a company cares if you know how to use all the functions in Word or Google Docs or anything like that if your writing is horrible. Nobody cares if you can use Adobe versus another graphics software if you can't sit down and work with a team. So those are the things that they really need to know how to do. Communication and collaboration is a huge part. And we just got a new report last month that you'll see why this stuff is up there. So cloud, communication, collaboration, connecting to real world, what's going on in the world, how do you apply that into your classroom? Much easier to do if you can connect online and see what's going on in the world. And go look up examples. And of course, independent learning is huge. Letting students learn on their own in the way they learn. Because I'm sure right here we can find everybody here has a slightly different way of learning different things. So if a student now has access to videos, different animations, simulations, different ways of something being explained in writing, they're going to learn better and have access to all those things. And what I didn't put up there was also accessibility and assistive technology is now huge. Tons of stuff built into every system there is. At the bottom, and it's also on the resource document, is the US Department of Ed and Technology rapid cycle evaluations. So it's a good tool for helping look through what different technologies can do for you and what's going to be best for you to get to all these things we want to do in the classroom. So here's a couple things to think about when you're looking at technology projects. Will this help all students think and learn more deeply? Notice all students are in there. And that's one of the great things about technology. It does let us work with all students and let all students have a say. Physical disabilities, learning disabilities, there's always something with technology we can do to help them out so that it makes them more inclusive. Any non-productive struggles and frustrations. Classroom teachers in the room? If somebody hands you a new technology and the first 2 days you try to use it, it doesn't work right, do you ever pick it up again? Probably not. There's a lot of technology in closets at schools because it just didn't work right. Teachers get frustrated. They don't have time to sit there and troubleshoot in the middle of a class when something doesn't work. If your IT department is understaffed, and I've yet to find a school system outside of a couple of private schools that have some serious money coming in, who have a fully staffed IT department that truly can say, yeah, we got extra time to go troubleshoot everything that happens. So you want to make sure that's not going to be a problem. Will it empower students to control their own learning? Student-centered learning first. What's nice is most of the technology trends we're seeing do fit these, but something you want to think about. Why are we implementing it? Have we started with the purpose and pedagogy? Will all students be able to access the tech? And if not all students, why? Is it a budget thing? Is it a plan where a lot of schools are rolling it out by grades? That's fine, as long as everybody in that grade level gets it too. Best tech to prepare students for the modern world. Is it secure and safe? There is a session this afternoon, a panel about student privacy and data, but that's a big thing now. Just so you know, California has the strictest student data privacy laws, and this will make a lot of people happy. They've already said Google and Microsoft fit their requirements. That covers like 99% of the school systems in the world, so we're pretty good. And here's the big one for the IT side. Can we support and sustain it? Sustainability is a huge issue these days. How many people have budgets already for next year? Because I know a whole lot of schools haven't passed their budgets yet. My hometown, Stratford, budget didn't get passed the other day. I was like, ooh, I just saw that in the paper, look, it didn't get passed yet. So, you don't even know what your budget is next year. We don't know what the state's going to be giving everybody next year. So imagine now trying to plan 4 or 5 years out for now I got to do a refresh cycle on technology. So keeping that in mind is what's going to be the easiest thing for us to refresh and support, and what if they cut my budget and I don't get to replace the guy who retires next week? Can I support all this? If not, what are my backup plans to try to help this out? One of the things that a lot of people are doing, student help desk. Huge resource. Especially if you get them taking like the Cisco Essentials or CompTIA, some kind of class where they only get a little certification and experience and they can go use that. So a couple of things we all know, learning anywhere, anytime. I've actually seen students on their phones out in public doing classwork. One kid running around Target, taking pictures for his chemistry class, household chemicals assignment. It was due the next day. Luckily, he had a reminder in his phone. It's kind of funny watching him running around the store taking pictures and furiously typing. But also, how many people do this? You see something you don't know or you want to learn more about, instantly you can pull out your phone and look it up. So students are learning more knowledge and facts, and we have to make sure we help them apply it. Active knowledge making, letting them create stuff. So it's not just taking a test to show they know stuff, but creating videos, animations, video games. That's a huge one some schools are doing now. Students create a video game that shows they learned whatever they had to learn to create the video game with the content. And the game is something that has to do with the next class coming along, using that game to test themselves. Lots of resources, feedback, not just from their teacher, but from others. Collaboration and teamwork is huge, and then of course differentiated. So you can differentiate your content, your process, and your product. So the content that you're teaching, the process they're learning it, whether it's you talking, them looking something up, them doing a project and learning it through that part, and then what do they give back to the teacher. Video conferencing, huge. For schools who don't have the ability to get speakers in locally, they can have them come in video chat. We have schools doing video chats with schools in other countries for foreign language classes. They're learning English, students here are learning whatever language they speak, and they go online with free video conferencing to talk to each other. Assistive technology is huge now. Screen readers, voice to text, text to voice, all kinds of different software and apps that help students with whatever their disability or challenge is. Game-based, of course, is huge, along with coding, project-based learning, and of course STEM and STEAM are huge. Everybody's kind of got that focus now. But that stuff can apply to any class too. A lot of people don't think of projects always when they think of English class. And here's the other big trend, changing up the classroom space. Instead of that one we saw before, everybody in rows, looking at making the classroom more, losing the word, just lost it. Flexible, thank you. I don't know why that's a word. I forgot it last week doing a session similar to this. Flexible but collaborative. And one of the coolest things, I don't know if you can tell in the upper right picture, the desks are whiteboards. They're dry erase surfaces. So students can like hash out all their ideas on the board, on the desk, and guess what they're using to capture that? They pull out their phone, they go click, and now it's in their files and ready for them to go. But things you can move around. A lot of schools now are looking at the furniture you can move to the sides, they have more open space, then bring it back out. You've got the collaboration tables with a monitor, so 5 students aren't looking at an 11-inch screen together. They can throw it up on that screen. Multiple projection systems in the rooms. Standing desks at the top right. Sit stand, I'm waiting for mine in my office. And just having the ability to do more than sit, and if you're in high schools, technically a lot of times you have those little tiny sidearms that barely hold an 11-inch device. Getting more things flexible, getting to do more things in the classroom, getting students up and moving. And here's how we work through Plan with Somebody. Is we start with what are they trying to do, help them really nail that down, and start looking at everything. So you got to start with the vision and leadership first, and literally as high a leadership as it goes, which is usually getting the superintendent involved, down to the classroom. Classroom teachers should be involved in all your planning on committees. Getting the community involved. You'd be surprised how many companies are wondering what to do with old furniture, old technology that for some schools would be really good technology. The technology itself, what platform, is your network up to speed? Always think network before devices, because you don't want people sitting there and there's a little spinning connecting logo on the device, because it's going to get put away and the teacher's not going to use it. Professional development. Biggest area we hear teachers constantly saying they don't get enough of. And it's not always the school's fault, because by the time you fill in all the time you have, you're usually trying to do all those things you have to do with all the different state requirements and everything else, but trying to get the teachers on not only, here's this new technology, making sure they know how to use it, but how do they use it effectively in the classroom? Getting some teacher leaders in the district who start to learn that stuff and bring it back to the rest of them. Sometimes the most cost-effective way too. What's the learning approach going to be? Changing the whole culture from the typical sitting in rows, students have to be doing this, it can't be a noisy environment in the classroom, heaven forbid. But a lot of leaders know if they're walking down the hall of school and they look in a room and kids are up and moving and talking and excited, that's a good thing. In the old days, that used to be a bad thing because you were supposed to be sitting at your desk. So we want to see them up and moving. And then the hardest one is that funding and sustainability. What's out there for grants and other ways to support your projects down the road when your budgets seem to keep getting smaller and smaller? Here's the top 10 skills. This is as of 3 weeks ago, the World Economic Forum. Top 10 skills 2 years ago and in 2020. Complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, people management. People management and people management of people you may never see in person ever. Because some of these reports are also saying that within 20 years, 50% of the workforce will not be in an office and will not be technically a full-time employee. They will be consultants, contractors, independent, working remotely who may never meet their boss in person ever. Because there's so many times you don't have to be in the same place. I work with schools all the time remotely. Jump on a hangout, I'm talking to a school in California, working with them on a project, finish that up, and 2 seconds later I can click on and be talking to a school in Maine. No travel needed. Judgment and decision making. Big things a lot of our students lack. Trying to help them with that. And a lot of times these active projects help them come up with, they're not getting step-by-step instructions, so they have to kind of make these changes, make these judgments, and letting them fail a little in a safe way. Like, okay, you made a mistake, who cares? Go back and fix it. Instead of you made a mistake, you failed, and that's the end of it. It's you made a mistake, you didn't do it right, let's go back and fix it, which is what you do in a job. If you don't get the right answer, you keep working on it until you get the right answer. Which is why sometimes new products take so long to come out, is that whole work of, it's not working, let's keep fixing it. Some of the other things coming. There's a big question mark on a lot. We are seeing a lot of things with active intelligence. This is huge. Between Google and Microsoft, Intel and IBM, there's some really cool things coming that are going to help students. You've got everything from, as you're trying to type something, it's predicting what you're typing. You get an email, it predicts what to reply, to the student can't figure something out and is struggling, and the technology will figure out the best way to address that student and help them learn it automatically. For devices, we're seeing convertible, touch, and handwriting is the biggest thing. Across both Microsoft and Google, they're going to have all kinds of handwriting support, over inking, so that students can quickly mark up work, handwrite notes, and they'll translate it and save it, so that students aren't restricted to just either a keyboard on a device or paper and a pen. Devices are getting more durable too. For networks, you're going to start seeing the next version of wireless coming very shortly, which is going to, I think they're talking about tripling the bandwidth and support in a single access point than what you have now, and more secure. The other thing that's huge right now is wireless video streaming. And there's a lot of different ways to do it, everything from, I could have walked up and plugged something into some of these projectors coming with it. You got a monitor wall you can plug in a little adapter, to systems like, I just saw how Intel's Unite system works, and literally if it's on that laptop or in your network, I could just put an app on my phone, put in a code, and now I'm projecting from my phone up to that screen. And the other thing for teachers is going to be a lot more resources available for them, and systems allowing them to curate all these resources. Instead of trying to figure out how to put it in some kind of drive folder system, a system to curate all these different resources that are out there and help the teachers find stuff better, along with a lot more open resources. So less money spent on that stuff means more money somewhere else. Questions? You're all asleep. I see it. I see sleepers. Right there. I saw you sleeping. No questions? Either I bored them or I'm really good. Yes? No, it's a Word doc with links and resources, including, I think I put Department of Ed, Google, Microsoft, and a few other resources on the whole project planning stuff and their strategic frameworks, along with a few other things.
There are some good slides there. Is there access to that?
Email me. I can get you some stuff.
I also believe along with a recording of this that happens, I believe afterwards the CEN makes all of these presentations available. I know they did last year.
That's right, that's why I had to take 2 slides out because they were confidential. I can share them, which is weird. I can show them up here and you can probably take a picture of it, but I can't let you have them. Not my decision, not even my company's decision, somebody else's, but it's strange.
Before we move on to the next presenter, I just wanted to share a couple, just a quick thing about David's presentation. His 9 questions were very good, and just 2 quick examples. I'll move over. Yeah. So while they're setting up, I'll just go on. You know, so one of the things you got to think about too is what's your best fit for your students and for your district, right? So before I started in Brookfield in October, I had been the director of technology in Derby Public Schools, and when I had started there, they had already started and signed the contract on a one-to-one initiative with Sprint to provide a high poverty school district with 24/7 internet access, with two staff members in the IT department, speaking about understaffed departments, one of them being myself. With full Lenovo Windows 7 laptops. And so the idea being that they had full flash-enabled laptops with Office installed and everything they can use. Problem is there's a lot of troubleshooting that goes with that. So since then, more things have become available on Chromebooks, so now looking into the future, they're probably going to end up going with Chromebooks when they refresh their program because of the low cost and the lack of troubleshooting. Jump over to Brookfield, where we're kind of in a hybrid environment right now. A couple years ago, I'm sure a lot of people know Brookfield was the first school district in Connecticut to go with a full iPad program in their high school. Looking down the road now, here we are, and the iPads are twice the price of Chromebooks. Volume licensing is just finally getting to a point where it's becoming more reasonable, and Apple's finally getting on board with MDM solutions. Before that, it was Meraki and other issues. We've just started switching over. Our 9th graders now have Chromebooks, half the price, a full keyboard, and that's where we kind of noticed that that's what the needs are for our school district. And it even got to the point now where students in the upper grades with iPads are coming into our technician and saying, "Can I get one of those Chromebooks?" And we have to say, "No, they're only for the freshmen." And we're going to continue moving on. So just one of those points, one of the things to think about is what's the best needs for what you're going to actually have your students use these devices for in the classroom, outside of the classroom. Because in what David was saying, sometimes it's disheartening to go by and see the technology not being used, or in the case of high amount of troubleshooting with not a lot of staff, the amount of time students without a device, because the whole point is that they're using the technology for their education, and if they're not able to use it, or they're not able to use it the way that they want to use it, and should be able to use it, then there's no benefit there either. Yep. So at this point, we'll have our second set of speakers. We'll move over to some teachers and a library media specialist. We have Kim Hebb, Matthew Puhlick, and Barbara Johnson.
The H is silent.
There you go.
You're gonna start? Yeah. All right. Thank you. Good job with my name there. It's a tough one for people usually, but. Good morning. My name is Matt Puhlick, and as it indicates up there, Barbara, Kim, and I, we work at Jackter Intermediate School in Colchester. And we Barbara's the library media specialist, and Kim and I are both information literacy teachers there. How many teachers are in the room right now? So not very many, but I'm going to try to go through these a little quickly because we have lunch coming up. I'm not going to linger on a slide too long, but there is a link available at the top of the page there. So if you would like to go back and see any of the information, please feel free to there. So we're going to focus on really project-based learning and digital badging in our intermediate school. And our little tag there is practice equals performance, because what we've seen students be able to do in the last few years has really been rather amazing. So this is really talks about the evolution of Colchester schools. David had some great information about what's happening out there in the globally, but our schools have gone through a few changes in the last few years as well. Now, usually technology, when you talk about that in the school, people think automatically computers, and it used to be really for teachers. Going back a few years, that was what they were used for. But there were changing consumer needs, and now the consumers are not teachers, they are the students. So going back, this is 2013, just a few years ago, and this is what our computer system consisted of. So the teacher had one computer at their desk, and there were 3 of these backbreakers, because if you ever had to move one of these things around, it was very difficult. And that was the extent of technology in the classroom. Then there came up this new special called technology. And that technology class was developed like this. 20 minutes of Ultra Key. Who remembers or knows of Ultra Key? It's a typing program. So this was technology. Literally 20 minutes of Ultra Key, and the other 20 minutes, students would really be practicing only with Microsoft instruction. So they would be then working on Word or PowerPoint slides, and that was it. Then somebody had the great idea of, hey, let's use this thing called technology to start to do some research. And then we'll let the kids get some deeper knowledge. Which then led us to the problem of this. Now, we still get some of this. People just are cutting and pasting things, and they end up, we see this problem sometimes still. I copied it straight off the internet, so what's wrong with it? So then we decided we really need to go and evolve ourselves from technology to information literacy, and that's why Kim and I, we call ourselves information literacy teachers. So as information literacy, it's hard to see there, but it really talks about getting skills to recognize when information is needed, and then to have the ability to locate, evaluate, and use effectively the needed information. So learners use these skills, resources, and tools to do a few things. Now, first off, we have them inquire and think critically about information that they're gathering, and then to gain new knowledge. So we're trying to have students not just go through and look things up and know facts, but then to apply those facts to new situations. We want them to then draw these conclusions from these facts and information that they get, and to make informed decisions and use this knowledge to create new knowledge. So we want them to be able to take this information and perhaps change what they might have thought about before about a subject. And that's where we really talk about this new learning happening. They change their assumptions and ideas that they've had about information. Now, this is all fine and grand that kids end up, they learn new things, but really we need to be able to share that knowledge. So sharing this knowledge and this participating ethically and productively really is key going forward for students to be able to be, to the best of their abilities, affect change in the world. Then when we're pursuing personal and aesthetic growth as well in order to round out our research. Now, these are ALA standards that we are really applying in our information literacy program. So we are trying to move forward in a few different ways. So then how do we do this? Now we have a few hundred students, about 500 students. So how do we do this efficiently and effectively in order to keep track of all these things that are going on? We have them for a special period once per week. So how do we do it? So this wonderful little product you might have heard about is Google Classroom. So we're using Google Classroom in our class in order to create assignments, individualized instruction for students. It allows us to track progress, to conference with students, and also to evaluate. Now let me see, this should hopefully give you a quick little view. Maybe not. Yeah. So here's just a quick little example here of one of our Google Classroom pages. This is on the teacher side. And we have a few different badges that we set up. That's what we use. It's kind of almost like a micro-credentialing system for students. But we have a number of different assignments that we'll put in here for our different grade levels. For example, this is one of my 4th grade classes. And we'll set up, for those of you who know about Google Classroom, we'll set this up and we will allow students to go through and, go through and perform different badge functions, different lessons, in order to get the skills that we deem that students are going to need. For a little example, we have assignments such as coding, typing, we have research projects in there, and we try to make these projects very relevant for the students so that they can get some personal connection to the research that they're doing. So how do we keep track of what student has done what? This is how we go into our digital badging now. So we have a number of different skill sets set up for students, and it's really paced by the student themselves. We know when we're having them come in for 42 minutes, and for 20 minutes you have to do this or that. Now we give them the assignments in Google Classroom, and they are able to go through at their own speed in order to determine when they have reached mastery in that badge. Some examples of the ones we have. We always start out with internet safety. It's one of our first things that we do every year. We have inquiry going on. We have citing. We have our students required to do MLA citations on their research that they do. This is 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. Keyboarding. We have Destiny, which is our library catalog system. So we train the students to go through and be able to find information. Coding badges. Number of activities that they complete in order to gain a coding badge. Digital tools, planning, research. And this all leads to this overall information literacy program that pulls all this together. And what we've seen with these badges has really been remarkable as far as motivation for students goes. They're very excited to come in. It's not prescribed that they have to work on one certain topic every week. So it's really fascinating to see when a student earns this badge. They have a passport, a paper passport that we'll use. And they actually will come up and they'll get the labels. These are examples of those. And they'll be able to place them right on their own passport. And it's really neat that they see this reward that they've earned something. I mean, yeah, it's like a big sticker, but it encourages students to be able to go through and get excited about their learning. Now, an overview of grade levels, again, grade 3, 4, and 5, using Google Classroom. This is just kind of a layout of what the different grade levels are doing. You can see at each grade level, we always introduce here with internet safety. Destiny, once again, is our library catalog system. We're based out of the library. So we want students to not only be able to find things digitally online, but also be able to use a catalog, a digital catalog, to find physical books and print materials in our library. Now, 3rd grade, we really start this inquiry model talking about research topics and questions. Now, I've had some 3rd grade classes come in and they're like, okay, we'll come up with a research question. And they're like, who's stronger, Spider-Man or Superman? And it's not really a deep research question. So we worked for a while on developing those types of skills to be able to come up with something that I like to say it's meaty instead of a little thin question. I know there's thick and thin, some other people use different terminology, but I mean, I always talk to the kids and they can relate to, okay, I'm like, I like to get my teeth into a question and really chew on it. I mean, look at me, so. But they overlap from year to year, but they also build. The skills also build on each other. So we're finding things from what is a reliable source in 3rd grade. Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true. So we go from finding what is reliable, what's going to be a good source. You know, I talk about the kids, I might be an expert on eating pizza, but you don't want to read an article online about solar energy from me. So always checking sources, seeing where information comes from. And as it carries on, our citation of sources really increases to full MLA citations over the next grade levels. We introduced robotics in grade 4, so we use the Ozobots. We have Finch robots in our library that we're using in order to get students not only excited, but to think about the processes behind it, to learn about the theories of them. Digital tools are always on every grade level, so we use different web-based tools in order to share that information or express that information. We really went with Express because when we're using Google Classroom, you tell kids, well, we want you to share. They automatically hit share and send it to my email. And that's not really what we're looking for. We want them to be able to express those ideas out there to other people so they can try to make a change with their new information. Coding, we have a makerspace that we encourage students. We do things digitally with digital tools, but we also like students to be able to come in, make things, do prototypes, build models of different things that relate to their research. It always ties back to the research. And then, of course, we have typing as well. Now, these characteristics of these badges, they're really designed to let students meet the grade level expectations. They give us that tangible way of giving feedback. When you have students, 25 students come in for 42 minutes, it's hard to be able to go to each one every time when you have 500 students over the course of a week. So these badges allow us to be able to give kids feedback, notes on a passport, say, hey, you have mastered this concept. Now you're going to use that moving forward. Modifications are noted on the badging sheets. It gives more personalized learning experiences, and Kim's going to talk about that in just a moment. And then again, those skills build from grade to grade. And again, our grade level curricular expectations, we really talk about digital tools in grade 3. That's not our only focus, but that's a main type of expectation. Really get into robotics in 4, and then note-taking, which is big time in 5th grade, so that we can move forward. Again, topics, building on skills. We talk about the research topics and questions. Using the inquiry model is so huge in our classroom, which is the library, because we want to always relate the information back to that inquiry process, so it's not just coming in and playing around on computers. We want people to come in and learn the skills that they need, not only for our classroom, but classrooms in the school as well. Just continuing on, this is text heavy, but like I say, if you'd like to look at this, the link is on the first slide. And it continues on from grade level to grade level to show how they interact and overlap. So I'm going to turn this over to Kim Hebb now, and she's going to run through some of our modifications, which are so important with our students in the classrooms.
Good morning. I'm going to talk first about the modifications that we use, and largely we use them to encourage personal learning and encourage students. So the next several slides are going to be what we use to help students learn. When working with students, we found that many needed additional support to meet the learning goals that we set, and one of the ways that we use modifications is through models and examples to help students find information. So you can see links here and specific sites geared to help students learn information and content. Another way we encourage modifications and help for students is through, because we use Google Classroom, one of the great features through Google Docs is the use of voice typing. It helps a lot of the kids who have rapid thoughts and are unable to convey their ideas quickly so that they can voice type and get their ideas down on their Google Doc. And this is an example of a voice typing feature at work. So the student was able to use an internet safety assignment, watch a video, and then gather his ideas within a class period as opposed to maybe 3 or 4 typing the information. So that was very successful for this student. Another feature would be the use of graphics to illustrate important ideas and also printing assignments for students. The graphics, as you can see in this assignment, the example helps to support the questions. Many students need those visual examples, especially the younger 3rd graders, because they're not really comfortable navigating the web yet and going in between tabs to find information. So the use of physical examples helps them to answer questions and also show what they know. Printed assignments is also very useful because some students have difficulty going between those tabs. It also helps students to take notes on paper. Some of them opt to type what they've written in order to gain confidence, but it also helps students to follow directions. Some of them need sequential steps on paper in order to navigate the assignment and also to navigate the web to accomplish that assignment. This right here is a modified graphic organizer. We use Stripling's inquiry model a lot, and this is what we use primarily with students who need more support. So it sets a purpose for learning, and it serves as a framework to help students find information largely with para support or individual support. So this is just kind of like a summary of what we might do. We also use extensions to support the variety of learning needs in our school, citation, text-to-speech, the ESL, and the research support. The Speak It is really useful for those students with reading needs, those students who can't read to themselves and might need a little bit of support reading to them. They can find information simply by listening, playing the information back to them, and then taking notes. Destiny Discover is also really useful because it ties right to our library. So if we're off finding information, it actually serves as a resource to help students find print resources based on what they're searching for on the web. These are sites and databases we use to support the variety of learners. To gather pre-search, we use the term pre-search because we have students a lot of the time gather information before they develop questions. But these resources help students because they're most oftentimes organized. They have headings to help students identify main ideas and supporting details, so it helps students to organize the information and find what they're looking for. This is actually the most fun part of our job, I think, and that is we a lot of the times use tutorials that are pre-made, but we also get to make our own tutorials, which is pretty fun. It's great because we can gear instruction towards specific learning needs. It could be for a whole class, but it could be for individual students as well. If we want a certain student to work on a specific skill, we can create tutorials for them in order to kind of gear their learning. And also, it helps out for substitutes, and it also helps out for students who are absent. If there's a student who's absent and may miss an important concept, we can have these tutorials or have them access these tutorials within Google Classroom so that they can review information. And if they're not getting the concept and they need to review how to use, let's say, a digital tool, they can go back and rewatch a video in order to gather important ideas. The following several slides are samples, actual samples from where and how we have personalized learning for students. We, again, have found that one model does not fit all. We encourage and celebrate student choice, so they actually have a choice in terms of what they're learning. We often adapt instruction to support their strengths, and we work through the inquiry research model, but we also understand that it takes time. So what you're going to see right here is a sample from a grade 5 student. It uses the inquiry model, it's that modified version, and it uses print resources and digital resources in order to help the student find information about a panda bear. It was completed with a one-to-one support teacher, but the student was able to gather information based on his learning needs about panda bears. This is the same student. It shared, what you see is how he shared what he learned about the polar bear and then another project about the panda bear. So you can see that he created a Play-Doh model, which for him was very useful because he got to talk about the parts that went into a polar bear. He got to talk about what their fur looked like, what colors to use, and also you can see within his ability he was able to draw a picture of a panda bear and describe the parts. And you can see the last example gives you just kind of a view of his animal within its habitat, so it allowed him to review the important characteristics that he learned about his animal. This right here is just a quick example of our badging sheet and how we keep track of learning. So this might follow a student from year to year or from project to project. So we might know what they learned about internet safety from one year and then build on that the next year so that they could absolutely positively grow as a learner based on what they learned the previous year. Right here, just very quickly, is a kind of culminating project. It just shows what the student learned about polar bears and panda bears. His research is on the right, and he was able to actually be accountable for his learning by writing what he learned. This right here, just one more quick example. A student was not able to write, not able to really discuss, but that student was able to kind of take the research she learned about lions in order to color it to the best of her ability and then discuss what certain lion families were like and the characteristics of lions. This right here is just a quick example of a student who's very interested in Taylor Swift, really wanted to learn more information, so we geared the research model to her needs as well. And then this right here was just an example of a third grader. Third grader was able to find information about penguins. The information with that support person was organized for that student, and we let him independently share his learning, and he was successful, which was amazing because it was his ability, and he actually did a lot more than any of us in our teaching circle knew that he could do, which was awesome. We use feedback, which we believe is critical to student success. We do one-to-one conferencing, most oftentimes provide students with immediate feedback. If you sit with students, you can hear their thinking, you can hear where they're going, you can correct mistakes, and you can offer suggestions and advice. Comments, we use them to allow students to review their work, gain insight into what needs to be fixed, any mistakes they have, and independently work towards meeting a goal. Rubrics are also what we use to provide students with an opportunity to self-evaluate, read our feedback, and revise their work. So this is just a quick example of some comments left in a Google Doc. One of them is a 5th grader, the one on the left is a 5th grader, the one on the right is a 3rd grader, so you can see the feedback that was left, or the comments I should say, that were left for these students. They independently read the comments and were able to make changes, revise their work, and then the follow-up comments were on top, reflecting the fact that they actually did make those changes and met the learning goals and therefore received their badges. This right here, most oftentimes we do for 3rd graders because they have a disconnect a lot of times with Google Docs. They're not as comfortable with them, so they don't always understand that you can go into your Google Doc, read your comments. So a lot of times when we evaluate or have them evaluate their work, we put the comments on the rubric so that they can actually see how they graded themselves, how we graded them, and areas to improve for the future. And I am a firm believer, and if you revise or fix your mistakes, I'll be happy to regrade to show the growth. Rubrics help to demonstrate clear learning goals to students. They help students to self-evaluate their own understanding and use of the inquiry process, and they provide a bridge to connect and build skills from grade level to grade level. And this is just a quick example right here of a rubric we would use. These are our core skills or concepts that we hope students will have by the end of the year in grade 3, grade 4, grade 5. And you can see how they build upon each other. And this is what we strive for every year with 3rd graders, with 4th graders, and with 5th graders. Mm-hmm.
Is all of this the same program that Matt was talking about?
Yes, we co-teach, yeah.
So it's not you have a classroom teacher, this is through
No, this is
information literacy program.
right.
Exactly. So, you know, we share grade levels, the three of us, but we each teach one teacher's class. We don't enter. No, this spreads across our program. So, and these are available to the students within Google Classroom, so they can pull it up, they can see, they can make comments on the Google, say, how am I going right along, so they're checking the progress.
Do you see them just once a week, or is it?
Once a week.
Is it in replacement of the library media program, or in addition, or
It's all integrated.
is it technically the library media program that once was?
Yes.
Well, it's evolved, yes.
Well, you're stealing my thunder, man. Am I done? Yeah, you're on. No. So to address those questions, this is the library media program of old. And so this was not planned. David's presentation was completely separate, and we looked at David's and we're like, wow, we're just taking what David said and showing you how it's been put to practice. Through the Department of Education, and we've got our Future Ready framework now, and we've got Future Ready librarians, and everybody's going to be Future Ready, and we thank the Superintendent of Colchester for being one of, I think, 17 or 18 school districts to sign the Future Ready Pledge. And how do we put it into practice? What does that look like? And so we formed in Colchester this year a group of teachers, K12, I think there's 28 of us, called the Groundbreakers. And we're kind of putting forth different pieces of this Future Ready in different, not only curricular content, classroom, grade level, one-to-one, zero-to-one. I mean, how is this working? And so these are some of the things that we felt were important through the library media program, which is now called information literacy. No longer kids, I mean, the old school program, we've all been in the school, Jackter, 3 years working together. This is the completion of our 3rd year, yeah. And so when we all walked in that building, there were Windows XP machines, 3 of them in the classroom, something they affectionately called the crap top lab, which were Dell 510s with missing keys, all daisy wire chained together on a single outlet coming out of the wall, which in retrospect seems a little dangerous. So, you know, how did the priorities really changed when we came in, because I couldn't live like that. I couldn't imagine teaching like that. And my background is classroom teaching. I happened to go to college and grow up in a time when technology was, if it's not exploding now, it was certainly exploding then. I love taking apart things, and it just happens to be that that's what school is now. And I'm in my wheelhouse right now. I am loving being a librarian. I'm loving teaching kids, my passion, and this truly is my passion. So being able to provide my passion to children 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, isn't exactly the passion of my husband, but it is mine. And so to be able to put this all out there for them, and be able to be an email junkie and text messages, and I'm all over it. My Twitter account, I'm a Twitteraholic. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we tweet out everything that's going on in our library. This presentation is available to you. Please take pillage. We have all of our information online at jackterlibrary.com. Everything we do is available. Please copy and replicate, because it's good for kids. It's really, really been good for kids. So again, we are considering ourselves preparing for Future Ready. I don't think anyone will ever be there 100%, because as soon as you feel like you're Future Ready, the next best thing has come down the pike, or the next tool, or the next trend. And so while you can always prepare yourselves to be Future Ready, and I think that's the best thing we can do for our students, is to prepare them for the future. Prepare them to embrace anything that comes their way, figure it out. Don't approach it with fear, but approach it with open arms and say, I can figure it out, and what's the worst that could happen? And we all, I say, if it blows up or breaks, I am there for you. But if you're looking for me to give you the answer, that is not going to happen. And that's a really hard thing or third graders to understand. All they want you to do is, Mrs. Johnson, just tell me what button to push, and I'm, push them all. Truly, what is the worst thing that's going to happen? So this is what future-ready librarianship looks like, and these, my co-teachers are not librarians, but we are. We're all librarians. We are all curators of information. We are all teaching children how to find their own answers, to make sure those answers are accurate, and how to share them. So we are all technically librarians in this room, and every single person who's employed by a school, a parent, if you have children, you are a librarian because you're a curator, you're an evaluator, and you're a sharer. How are we providing this in the library? We are providing flexible learning, so everything we bring in is on wheels and moves apart and gets put back together. We encourage both children and the faculty of our school to just jump in there and be brave. Do it yourself. I don't care what you're learning about. I care about the method you're using to learn. I care about the information you're finding about that topic. And I care how you're going to share it, either locally within your classroom, at a state level. We have kids going to present at state conferences. They were just at the Sika Tech Expo. And nationally, when we go and go to conferences, and I recognize people because of their Twitter handle. Because our class has been on a Twitter chat with their class, or we've done a mystery Skype, or we've reached out to them as an expert. But even staff in your schools need to be encouraged that way, not just the kids. We are cultivating partnerships within our school, community to school partnerships, and home to school partnerships. I think the best thing we've done this year, and it just happened, was through the research of global problems at our school. It culminated in a Jackter Day of Service, where we had over 12 different service projects for kids to donate to, participate in, and all of those projects came from kids researching global topics that they were interested in. They found these groups, the children offered up solutions, and I just put them in rooms so people could take a tour that day. And we raised funds for different charities, we collected clothing, stuffed animals, food, autism awareness. Girls were cutting off their hair and donating hair for wigs. I mean, it was an amazing day, and it was all because of research children had done. I think the best thing that we can all do is stand up and participate in the vision. I think that whether you participate in the vision and help drive that vision at your school. I belong to both the Connecticut Computer Educators of Connecticut Association, Sika, and CASEL. We all need your help. So whether you're participating in with the CEN, joining Doug Casey's advisory councils, getting involved, get involved and share your vision, because we are all in this together, driving this vision forward and becoming future ready. And because I'm a librarian, you have a works cited page. So that's everything I have for you. In MLA. So we did, yep, I scooted through. We have time we have like 5 minutes. If you have questions, I brought whatever you saw in digital that Kim was presenting that we have in Google Classrooms, I have in paper for you as well. So we've got our rubrics that we use with our children. We've got the graphic organizers that we use. We've got the passports. I brought a classroom sample of the badges that the kids are earning. If you want access to our Google Classroom to see the different, just send us an email. Our emails are on the beginning of the slideshow, or follow us on Twitter and we can get you access. You can actually now join Google Classrooms for outside our domain. So we had better enable that. So. Yeah. Thank you very much.
So as Barbara just said, yeah, we have about 5 minutes before lunchtime. Does anybody have any questions? Anything they want to share? Go ahead.
So you teach the teachers when the porn shows up, you close the tab. No, really. It happens. We use ad block for YouTube. It's an extension that the kids add in. which helps to cut down on those annoying, inappropriate 30-second ads before a YouTube video. So through the Google control panel, they had it on restricted mode, which was blocking a lot of the good stuff and still letting the crap through. And so, kids were putting videos up there because in Google Slides, at the time, you couldn't link to a video in your Google account. It had to be on YouTube, right? So I'm embedding video. So I'm like, guys, these are I'm trying to show a whole school assembly, and I can't get the kid's iMovie trailer because he had to kick it out to YouTube. So we did. They opened it up. Bad stuff still comes up. Good stuff still comes up. We're teaching digital citizenship. They don't have a firewall at home. They're going to get a good, bad, and ugly at home. We just teach them, tell someone, shut it down, and come clean. It's not your fault that morons are putting stuff out there. So what are you going to do? I mean, you have to navigate through it. So that's part of teaching the kids. And it happens,
Yeah, and I'll second that. We've had some issues coming up with web filtering, specifically related to YouTube and this Jeffy video, this Jeffy puppet that's been coming out. And so we've been getting requests to block YouTube, and it's one that I'm fighting very heavily against because of all the educational resources and what is actually available to YouTube. So what in the end it comes down to is teaching the classroom management piece of it and the shut it down and monitoring. There is that level of hands-on that still has to be done. It's because you can't block parts of YouTube because they lose the good stuff. It's either all or nothing. So it comes down to embracing how to best manage it in the classroom. And there's no one fault to either side. It's working together with the technology side and the teaching side to make it work for everybody. So, anybody else have anything you want to add? There was a question over here.
Just a quick question about the badges. You mentioned you're still doing them just kind of on paper.
Yes.
Are you still tracking them that way? Because I know the way that Google Classroom works, which I use with all my classes, you can grade things, but that doesn't go anywhere.
right.
It doesn't export.
Yeah, so we're using PowerSchool and we're using the standard space. We're not using, at our
So you're
level.
still just grading that as you.
We are grading it. Kids are checking off whether they're completed or not. They mark it as done. They get their sticker. We are transitioning. Next year, we've already talked about transitioning to a more digital format. But boy, those kids love colored stickers. They don't get color anymore. So like, I can put a color view, and we do, again, I have some examples of the stickers here. There are open source badges. There are things we can recreate this. You put up a piece of clip art and you put their email in and they get it digitally. You can share it with them in Google Drive, but that was our ultimate plan. But I'm telling you, they love these stickers. We're sticking with it, literally sticking with it.
They'll like wave them at each other.
Yeah, but fifth grade is going to be, we've talked about fifth grade. This is our second year in this movement. As our third year, we've talked about fifth graders. We would have this suggested learning plan in Google Classroom. Here's the video, here's the rubric, here's the project. But we would really like to empower our fifth graders next year that if they don't like our plan, they could develop their own learning plan and say, Mrs. Johnson or Mrs. Hebb or Dr. Puhlick, I really want to learn about this, but I think I could learn about it by going here, going here, going here. Go for it. Put it together. If it works, that's great. We're here for support. And if you need our resources, use them. If you can then learn it your way and still complete the task, fully for you. You get, mastery is mastery no matter how you get there. So that would be the next evolution for us. That's what the future.
Anybody else?